Got the hurricane is barreling towards the coast, Dylan. It's Dean Legge, Dylan Webber. Another edition of Riding Home. Georgia getting back to it. Got hurricanes. We got a post Labor Day practice on Tuesday, and there was
Got
not.
sunny,
What's that?
got sunny skies in Athens. Doesn't seem like a
There's
hurricane.
not. There's nothing wrong in Athens, um,
Oh,
but definitely coastal Georgia, the Carolinas, and obviously Florida, preparing for what could be a lot of rain more than anything else. What? There was someone missing at practice today. Why don't you go into what you saw just real quick?
well, I'm not exactly sure if he was missing, but I did not see Adam Anderson. There are some conflicting opinions on it. My guess is that he's probably all right. Maybe he came to practice late. He was with the scout team last week, and it's not like it would be, huge news on this Georgia team. That outside linebacker position is very well stocked with players, but someone
Yeah, but
that
if
might
Adam
have.
Anderson is not on, I mean, you wouldn't immediately think of him as being on the scout team.
No, I mean that's true too. I mean, whether he's there or not, or whether he's on scout team, it is some news. When he played last year, I thought he played pretty well, and I thought he would be a player on this team. Maybe not a significant contributor, but a contributor at times.
Right.
But scout team was a little surprising to hear. But once again, I mean, you just got guys, a whole list of players in front of him. That outside linebacker room is kind of hard to break through right now.
It is. Speaking of the hurricane, by the way, there's a bunch of schools. I mean, Charleston Southern has already gone to South Carolina this week for their game with the Gamecocks. Coastal Carolina has already gone to Greenville, South Carolina, to practice up there. They will depart for Kansas later this week. Nobody else yet that I'm aware of has announced that they sort of have issues, but it is interesting. Georgia has very very rarely been thrown into a chaotic situation like that, and I just wonder how they would react to it. In Athens we don't deal with hurricanes. You can get the aftermath
No.
of them, obviously, but schools near the coast, certainly in the southeastern coast, deal with it all the time. There's no line, by the way, for this game out yet. Is that interesting to you? I mean, if you look at
For
for,
Georgia Murray State.
yeah, I know it's. I mean, that's a one AA school, but
Yeah.
the interesting thing here. There's two lines that are interesting to me, at least. Number one is that Clemson has gone from being a 19.5 point favorite to a 17 point favorite. So they dropped 2.5 points. That's something that's halfway interesting. It might bubble back to 18, but 19.5 seemed like a lot. And then the other one, there's actually two other ones that are halfway interesting. I know we talk gambling here occasionally. Vanderbilt is a 7 point dog to Purdue on the road. And then the one that is even more sort of, I don't know if it's shocking is the right word. West Virginia is a 2 touchdown underdog at Missouri.
What the?
And
Actually?
Missouri just lost
To
to
Wyoming?
Wyoming on the road, but they lost to Wyoming. Now, what is going on? That line, by the way, has moved a couple of points in Mizzou's favor. But anyway, back
Two touchdowns?
2 touchdowns. Back to the dogs. Uh, and one thing that was going on with West Virginia, I mean, they barely won this week against James Madison, a school not so far from them. And they got a new head coach and all this stuff. But golly, I mean, Missouri, as bad as they have been, that ain't going to work so hot. Okay, back to the dogs. Any other stuff that you noticed from practice today in Athens?
That's interesting. DeAndre Swift was wearing a new helmet. That kind of stood out to me. He's wearing a Revo Speed today and not the normal kind of, I think, the shut that everyone's begun wearing. I'm not sure what that's about or why, but it's just kind of something that stuck out to me.
What about the Nerf footballs?
Dan Lanning was using Nerf footballs today, and I was looking at the defensive line, and I looked over and he had two in his hands, and I was like, holy shit, I gotta check this out. So it's like, why would they be using Nerf footballs? I don't know. So I went over, and basically they were just working on batting balls down while passing or rushing the passer.
Yeah.
And Dan Lanning, as soon as they would get around the dummy, he would basically just peg them with it.
Well,
and it looked pretty
a
satisfying to me.
Nerf football is much more forgiving, as we all know, than a
Yeah,
leather pigskin. Um, but it's just a curious time of year where there's a lot of snap things that come up. Watched Notre Dame last night. I was actually at the U.S. Open last night, but watching Louisville and Notre Dame at the same time, monitoring Louisville Notre Dame. Did you get a chance to watch the Irish?
yeah, I was watching most of the game. First half was just kind of slow. They bounced back second half and looked all right. Looked good even. But I don't know. I am not very
Do,
sold on Louisville as a team.
no, Louisville's terrible. But do we generally speaking, when we watch teams, always just sort of shit on them, no matter who we're watching? I mean, you see the mistakes. I did not think that Notre Dame would
Um,
allow that many rushing yards. I'll say that. I know it was
of,
not the way that Georgia plays, but still.
of course, because I think you see this a lot with just people who critique and talk about sports. I think it's easier just to find things to, like you said, shit on than to find
Yeah.
more compliments in
Yeah.
teams, and it makes for better content, I guess. To say, oh, like this team sucks at this and this and this, and I think it's easier to point out, and I try to avoid that, but of course it's very easy to become a
Negative.
victim of that. Yeah.
Do you think, though, after watching that, and the kind of tit for tat that Notre Dame and Louisville got into with those fumbles, do you think that do you think that they have the guys to stick with Georgia on the offensive line? Or excuse me, in the line of scrimmage. That's what I would really worry about for a Notre Dame person.
No, and that's, I think, probably the biggest thought I had during that game was just they maybe can for a half. I think it could be one of those games where it's close at halftime. Georgia looks like the better team, but they're only up 3 or something.
Yeah.
And in that third quarter, they kind of just start to run away with it. I think that could be what we could see out of that game, because I just don't think Notre Dame has, like you said, the personnel to keep up with Georgia on the line of scrimmage.
That's the part that's going to be interesting. Is Georgia as good as everybody thinks they are on the offensive line, or is this a mirage? And if you go to dawgpost.com, dawgpost.com, a lot of discussion this week about the Notre Dame situation, about because Georgia's not going to lose these next 2 games. So it really does make sense to talk about this Notre Dame game from here on out. But it does seem like folks are figuring out how to give this game to Georgia already. I mean, I think they're going to have to play better than they did against Vanderbilt. Although I will say, I do think I think Georgia played pretty well against Vanderbilt and left 2 touchdowns on the field. And
yeah, I didn't think they played bad. I mean, those first 3 touchdowns seemed incredibly easy.
Yeah.
Why is this person stopping here? There's no yield sign, dude. Keep going. But yeah, they scored 3 touchdowns really easy. The defense I thought looked really good. They stopped the run pretty well. For the most part, there wasn't any really big plays on Vanderbilt's part.
Well, there weren't any big plays, period.
Yeah.
I mean what did I miss on that deal? Were there big plays in that game and I missed it? I watched every single play.
I mean, Demetrius Robertson touchdown called back.
Right.
That was that was there, but it got called back.
Yeah.
James Cook touchdown was like 16 yards out. I mean, so red zone. I guess.
But is that a big play? That's my question.
No, probably not.
I'm talking about 20-yard, deals. Explosive, game-changing situations. You just didn't get that with that game from Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt just never really seemed to be able to do anything, man, offensively.
No.
They couldn't. They just. I wanted to go back and look. I haven't looked yet, but I wonder if they had a play over 15 yards.
I wonder.
My suspicion is no.
Besides a face mask and a late hit, I don't know.
Right. Those are not plays. I guess you could say. I'm going to go real quick and look at that while we're talking. Jake, at what stage here are we going to see? I was at what stage are we going to see Stetson Bennett? I mean, at what stage? Because you need to roll your number two in there at some point.
Well, I mean, I think against Murray State would be a perfect time.
No question. And younger guys that didn't play, is there going to be a time that we should expect to see them? I mean, what I'm asking is, what should we look for that's different this week than last week? Is there anything
Well,
particularly?
I mean, I wonder if Jake Fromm will get pulled at halftime, honestly.
Yeah.
And I know someone asked Kirby about playing young players yesterday, and he said, "Oh, you're assuming a lot." And yeah, I think we are assuming a lot, but I think we are rightfully doing so. And I think Stetson will probably play most of the second half, if not all of the second half.
I mean, Vandy only had 109 yards total passing. That's really bad, man, and that's not what you want at all.
No, and their quarterback was nothing.
The most
really
explosive play for Vanderbilt was a 23-yard run. The longest passing play was 16. Neither quarterback for Vanderbilt had 100 yards. Riley Neal was sacked twice. I don't know. I mean, you lose Kyrus Jackson for a little bit of time, but was that the reason why Tyler Simmons was taking punts? Has everyone skipped past that?
I don't think so. That's probably why he started taking them all at the end. But I think they were kind of splitting it. They kind of in the same sense that Terry and Nicole would split it over the past couple of years. I think maybe that was the idea with Kyrus and Tyler Simmons. But then Kyrus got hurt, so it was kind of like, well, Tyler, take it all.
By the way, you had Rodrigo with 7 kickoffs, 5 of which were touchbacks. He played really well.
Kirby commented, I think they probably could have all been 7 touchbacks, but Kirby was like, well, we kind of wanted to work on some, kickoff coverage and stuff, and he said that Rodrigo might have been a little upset with that because he just wants to kick it as far as he can.
He just, this thing is about Rodrigo making the kicks in big moments, and if he will do that, Georgia will probably win the SEC.
Well, he drilled a 50-yarder this week.
Yeah.
First step.
But in game, and I'm not hating on Rodrigo, man. He's earned everything he's got up there. But it's go time is when it matters, and that's when he missed that kick against Alabama this year. In December. That was a killer. That really hurt them. But that didn't cost him the game. It was just a 31-yarder, and then he should have made it.
He got to make that, yeah.
All right. Look, let's wrap it here. We're going to have something on Vince Dooley a little bit later in the week. Dean Legge, Matt DeBerry, and I will have that later in the week. You are going to see Zach Evans?
Yeah, I will leave for Houston on Thursday morning.
And Matt is going to see Kylie Ringo and Darnell Washington this weekend. So very, very busy. Stay tuned to Dogpost, DAWGPOST.com for more. Dylan, thanks for being here, and we'll see everyone on the website.